first day. So second session of the first day is still general introduction. We're about to start in the text and the author, a little bit about the text, but this is general introduction. The last point that we discussed is that the knowledge of Aqeedah, the science and the discipline of Aqeedah developed over time, okay? Like other disciplines. They developed over times, including new details and new ways to present the Aqeedah to teach Muslims, okay? This is something natural and something that happens to all the sciences of Islam, all the disciplines of Islam. Okay, can you give me an example, okay, of issues that Rasulullah ﷺ did not discuss, Sahaba did not discuss, Tabi'een, the next generation did not discuss, however, they were discussed and introduced to the Aqeedah later on. Can you give some examples? We mentioned some of them briefly, but what topics Rasulullah did not discuss, the Sahaba did not discuss, the next generation, Tabi'een, did not discuss, but later on.
That Quran is the word of Allah or its creation.
Excellent. So the Quran is the word of Allah or it is created? Excellent. This is one of the new discussions that was not discussed before. Even Imam Ahmad and other scholars who objected the word creation, they say, bring a dalil. The Messenger did not say it. Bring a dalil. This is the word of Allah. Bring a dalil to change that. Okay, what else? Any other example? Yes.
Physical manifestations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Physical manifestations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether he has a body, doesn't have a body, parts, no parts, etc. When he is on his throne, is it sitting like physical body on body or not? So this is among the things. Did Rasulullah discuss it? No. Did Sahaba discuss? No. Did Tabi'in discuss? No. You know what is the funny thing? The funny thing and the thing that later scholars who agree or disagree, they say this is the understanding of Rasulullah and the Salaf. How did they know? Rasulullah did not discuss it. The Sahaba did not discuss it. Then they try to explain, and later on they say, this is the correct Aqeedah of the Salaf. This is the correct Aqeedah of the Sahaba. Do you see the gap here? Somebody understood something, and he is projecting it back on the previous generation, saying this is what they understood. While in fact, we don't have enough evidence to support that claim or that claim. All of these are ijtihad. So what does it mean, ijtihad? What does it mean, ijtihad? You hear perhaps the word ijtihad. What does it mean, ijtihad? This is the scholars who these are scholars who make ijtihad. Ijtihad, when a scholar tries to understand and to give an answer, okay, based on his comprehension, based on his understanding. When there is something not clear or the scenario is not clear, then the scholar will give you the ijtihad. Do you need an example? Is it allowed for Muslims to live in a non-Muslim lands? Some Muslims here, and some of your parents, they came from a Muslim land and came here to the US and they became American citizens. Now, is this allowed in Islam or not allowed? Now, do we have a hadith or an ayah? No, we have general text. The land belongs to Allah. Those who are oppressed, let them go to other land, let them immigrate. The land of Allah is vast. Allah, you should be loyal to Allah and His Messenger. So a scholar will come and try to fill in the gaps for a new scenario that did not exist in the past. Then he says okay or not okay. Does that make sense? The Messenger ﷺ prohibited, how many Qurans we have here? Many, right? Alhamdulillah. The Messenger ﷺ, hadith, prohibited taking the Quran to the non-Muslim land so it will not be humiliated. Should we have Qurans in America and Muslim lands for Muslims or no? Because the hadith says the Messenger prohibited that. So you need a scholar says this hadith is related to humiliation. But if it is respected in the masajid and people are reading it and respecting it, and they have guidance in it and learning it, so it will be fine. So the reason is not there. So this is ijtihad, coming to understand the text for a scenario. Can you do it? Can I do it? In Deen, in Islam? Yes, if I seek knowledge. Okay? Only if I seek the knowledge of Islam and I become well versed, then at that time you can do it. Okay? What do you think? This is for discussion. What do you think of this verse in the Quran? I like it for you, for discussion. What do you understand from this verse? Allah is talking about what will happen to the universe, and He says everything is going to perish. كُلُّ شَيْءٍ هَالِكٌ إِلَّا وَجْهَهُ. What do you understand from this, Abdurrahman? Or anyone else? I don't want to put you on the spot.
There's just nothing left except Him.
Except Allah? Okay, this meaning is agreed upon between all scholars. That everything is going to perish because Allah initiated and originated this world, alright? So everything is going to come to an end, except Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, what about His face? This. Should you understand it? Add extra meaning, add extra stuff to it. Everything is going to perish or perishes except His face. This is the literal meaning. This is the كل شيء هالك, he knows Shaykh Allah, إلا وجهه, except the wajh of Allah. Does that mean everything is going to perish except the face of Allah, so the rest of His body? Is He a body in the first place? Can you point to Allah like you pointing to humans? This is your head, this is your hand, this is your leg. Can you point to Allah saying that these are attributes or not? So He said, except His face. So everything is going to perish except His face. So if He has hands, there are verses talk about hands. There are hadith talk about leg, foot. So everything is going to perish except His face.
If His face isn't like a physical thing, does that mean
It is physical.
like would it
Mm-hmm.
like would that everything perishing mean nothing left in the physical
Except
world?
His face. So if He has hands and eyes and all of that will be perished except the face. Or maybe the eyes will be included, but not the fingers, not the hands. If you do the personification of God, physical. These are among the things that Muslim scholars discussed and they started fighting over them. Should we discuss that? What do you think? Should I discuss it in Khutbah al-Jum'ah? And get confused. Like people who come in Ramadan. In Ramadan we have many faces that they come only in Ramadan, right? Okay, shall I stand at the minbar? Today I'm going to teach you adopting one of these positions. There is another position that says that, and this is wrong, and I'm going to focus with it. Give all of the khutbah. And anyone else, he is misguided. What do you think? Is it wise? Give them what Allah wants people to know the general meaning, right? That everything is going to perish. This dunya is coming to an end. And the real life is where? The next life. Yes.
Like, I've heard before, like, you shouldn't, like, focus on a lot, like, description of Allah Himself. Like, focus on His creation.
Excellent. This is one of the rules and one of the hadith. That think about the creation of Allah and don't think about Allah. تفكروا في خلق الله ولا تتفكروا في ذات الله. This is, a rule of Aqeedah. Think about the creation of Allah, but don't think about Allah, the word of the unseen, that our minds are limited. But this is one of the causes. Does Allah have a face or not? Is it real or not real? How it looks like, etc. So in the future, if somebody comes and pushes you in this community or anywhere else, saying, no, you have to believe in this, you have to believe in the literal meaning that He has a face. The other one, no, you should not believe at all. You should not. Don't fight, just take it easy. Tell them these are matters that the scholars discuss, not ordinary people. Sounds good? So this is Ash'ari Salafi issue over this one. Okay? On the internet, you'll find someone with big X. And the other group will go and have another big X, and they keep fighting. Okay, Aqeedah Tahawiyyah, the text that we are studying. What is the Aqeedah Tahawiyyah? Aqeedah Tahawiyyah is a short textbook. Okay? So it is very short. It's not very big. By Imam al-Tahawi, in early Islam. It was originally an introduction to one of his books. It was just an introduction. He said, this is the faith of believers, and just it became very famous after that. It has all the aspects of Aqeedah, kind of summarizing all the Aqeedah items. Instead of being scattered in the hadith, he put them together. He did ijtihad, he gave explanations. To them, he organized in a nice way, and scholars began to teach it. He is a scholar himself, and scholars began to teach it. Why it is special? Aqeedah Tahawiyyah is very famous. The most that Walmart sells that on their website. Aqeedah Tahawiyyah, you can buy it on Walmart's website. So why it became very popular and translated like that? Number one, very inclusive. It included almost all the details of Aqeedah, the foundations of the details of Aqeedah, organization, an early text, and the Ummah accepted it. Consensus of the Ummah. The Ummah said, this is a good text, very comprehensive. So this is why it became very famous and why it is important. Who is Imam al-Tahawi, the one who authored? His name is Abu Ja'far al-Tahawi. Ahmad, son of Muhammad. Okay? Ahmad, son of Muhammad. Easy to remember. Imam al-Tahawi. He lived in Egypt. How many years after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? Notice here that around maybe 300 years after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he lived in Egypt. Okay? He was a scholar, and he has a very interesting book, also on my reading list, Mushkil al-Athar, how to make sense of ahadith and verses that apparently they look different or contradicting, but in reality they are not. And if you are struggling in seeking knowledge, if you have a difficult subject in school, sometimes you think that you cannot comprehend or you are not smart enough, Imam al-Tahawi is very inspiring for you. You know why? His uncle is the student of Imam Shafi'i. His uncle is Imam al-Muzani. Muzani is the brilliant student of Imam Shafi'i, okay? So what happened, he was a student beside his uncle, and he keeps asking questions. And sometimes doesn't make sense, and asking again, and sometimes doesn't memorize, and coming again, to the point that his uncle was fed up when he was young with him, and he said, by Allah, you will never be a scholar in your life. He told Imam Tahawi. Then years passed, and he continued to seek knowledge until he became very knowledgeable, and his uncle died. And the scholars started coming to him. He authored the books, and the scholars started coming to him. And whenever he sees students are sitting in front of him in hundreds, he says, may Allah have mercy on my uncle, rahimallahu khali. If he's alive, he will do kafara for his yameen. Right, kafara, if you take an oath, then you violate that. Because he said, you'll never be a scholar. Then Imam Tahawi was brilliant, but the style maybe of teaching, the questions that he had, and he shifted from Shafi'i to Hanafi. Because he noticed that his uncle, when he has difficult issues and he wants more details, he goes to the books of Hanafi. Then he himself started studying Hanafi books. Then he shifted from Shafi'i in the details of fiqh of Aqeedah details. Then he became like Hanafi. If you know this is called, an interesting figure. Okay, what does it mean Hanafi? And what is madhab? You hear about these madhab, Hanafi, Shafi'i, Maliki, you heard about that, right? So Imam Tahawi shifted from Shafi'i to Hanafi. What does it mean? What is madhab? Is it something new that we are inventing? Did any of those Imam Shafi'i or Abu Hanifa invented something new? He said, okay, don't follow Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Come and follow me. And we believed in that and just we followed them. We left Rasulullah and Islam and Quran. Is it? Madhab. Some people, they interpret madhab. Some people will get you confused, saying you follow Rasulullah or you follow the madhab. Right? You heard that? Okay, here is the Quran in Arabic, and here is the Bukhari. Bismillah, yalla, give us fatwa. Can we do that without translation? Even we don't want to rely on Imam Bukhari. Let us go and look and fetch the hadith, what they are scattered. Let us go and collect them. Let us go to the Quran and try to find the correct hadith by ourselves without relying on any scholar, without relying on any madhab, and give fatwa. Can anyone living in the world do that? No one can do that. So you are obliged to follow scholars, what they built, and you built on it. So this is madhab. There is someone who has better understanding, better foundational principles, and people think that he's more knowledgeable, then they follow the style in understanding the Quran Sunnah. Okay? So do you read the Quran without a translation? You read, but if you want to read, to comprehend, you go to the translation, right? And everyone almost has a preference for the translation. That is madhab. So my madhab is the translation of this so-and-so, clear Quran now, for example, the most accurate and easy to understand. So this is my madhab. So if people follow, then this is the madhab in the Quran that you are following. In the Quran, the styles of recitations also have madhab. Okay? So do not be deceived when you heard the word, do you follow the madhab? I am following someone who is better than me to understand the Quran, because I'm not qualified. Okay? So some people is not contradicting Quran Sunnah, even Quran Sunnah, it is finding someone who is more qualified, just to explain it to me, because I cannot understand. Okay? Sounds good? So within Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, there are slight differences in some details, and these are the madhab. Anyone can give me a fiqh, not aqeedah issue, fiqh issue, practical, of differences between the madhab, between Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah? Practical example of fiqh issue. Fiqh means the practical things, salah, fasting, practical differences.
Like the niqab versus the hijab.
Huh?
Niqab versus the hijab.
Okay, niqab, is it obligatory for a lady to cover all of her face, or if eyes can be exposed a little bit, or all of the face is allowed to be exposed or not? This is a fiqh issue. Excellent. This is a fiqh issue. Scholars did not agree on that. So why they differ? Because of the text, the hadith. They try to make sense of them, and this is what they got. They have different. Any other fiqh issue?
Combining salah when you're traveling.
Excellent. So when you are traveling, are you allowed to combine salah? All the scholars agree that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam combined the salah, but in Hanafi madhab they said he delayed dhuhr to the last 5 minutes, and he brought asr. He prayed asr in the first 5 minutes. So you look at it, you think that it is combining, but it is in reality no. He prayed dhuhr in its time, last 5 minutes, and asr in first. In Shafi'i he said no, it is flexible, more than that. You can do it at any time, from dhuhr, beginning of dhuhr to the end of asr, to sunset. This is a fiqh issue. Now, is that based on the hadith? Yes, because multiple Sahaba, they reported different hadith, and the scholars try to make sense of them, and they say, okay, this is what happened, this is what happened, then they give you the fatwa. Excellent. Can you live in a non-Muslim land now for your parents to immigrate from? This is a fiqh issue. Yeah, some scholars are against it. Up to now, there are some scholars said, your father leaving a Muslim community, coming to a non-Muslim community, they say this is forbidden, it's not allowed. So you can adopt that fatwa, that opinion. Other people, they decided already, they're not coming here. But in the US, we think that all people want to come here. There are many people that I know in the Middle East. Well, one time I told someone that there is a position of imam in California. And I told him, come. He says, yeah, no, I don't want to go travel to non-Muslim lands. This is his position, he's adopting that. So not everybody in the world is dying to go. No, there are many who are not. Religiously, he said, I'm not going to leave a Muslim land to a non-Muslim land. This is his position. Position of some scholars feel like issue. Okay, just examples. Differences are there. We discussed that before, that Sunni, they have differences in the Aqeedah. What are the main 3 major categories of Aqeedah within Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah? This should be highlighted, and you should memorize that. This is the fighting, the styles of interpreting the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first school is tafweed. This is what Rasulullah and Sahaba did. Then ta'weel, then tafsir. So the first one is tafweed. Not to discuss anything. Just read it and general meaning, and that's it. General meaning. There is a meaning, but general one. Everything is going to perish except Allah. Everything is going to perish except the face of Allah means everything is going to finish, come to an end except Allah. General meaning. Without saying, does he have a face? Is he real? Not real? No, they did not discuss. That is the original one. And this is what I recommend for anyone. The madhab of Sahaba and Tabi'een and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When they don't discuss something, we don't discuss it. If you can stick to that and focus on what is more beneficial to you, that will be good if you can. However, sometimes if you have questions and if you want to go in details or if you have a discussion and you cannot stop there, you want to explain it, then you will end up using this or this. Ta'wil and tafsir. Ta'wil, looking for the closest meaning in Arabic that is befitting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and adopting it. The other one, tafsir, believing in the literal meaning and interpreting the literal one, but saying Allah is not like us, in a simple way. Okay? So the first one, take the general meaning and do not discuss the details. Okay? This is the first one. That was the main approach in early Islam. Second one, find an appropriate meaning that doesn't bring similarity to humans or deny the meanings. And this is the position of Ash'ari school or Maturidi. And the last one, affirm the literal meaning and consider everything real as it appears in the first look at the text, but without comparing it to Allah. And this is what they call it, Athari and Salafi. Okay? So tafweed, pass on. General meaning, pass on. Ta'wil, the second one, what? Find the closest meaning that befits Allah. Last one, believe, affirm the literal meaning without similarity to humans. How to apply it to the previous verse? Everything, kullu shay'in halikun illa wajha. Everything is going to perish except his face. All of them agree that everything is coming to an end and this dunya is coming to an end. Allah is everlasting. Al-Hayy al-Qayyum, always living. They agree on that. Number two, the Ash'ari, the Ta'wil people, they said the face means Allah Himself. Doesn't mean a part. They don't believe that Allah is composed of parts like humans. You have a head and a neck and a shoulder. They say, no, these are bodies. And Allah, وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. So Allah, they say, it means Allah Himself. The tafsir or ta'wil or the Salafi, they say, Allah has a face, a real face even they add. A real face, but it is not like our faces. In addition to the original meaning. So they agree on the original meaning, then they added more. Sounds good? Do you think that is worth it? You like divisions between Muslims and fighting and all of that? Do you think that is worth it? Now when the Ummah is in need of the energy, and you know how many thousands of books were written on this subject, and how many fights, how many debates, how many arguments over these things? Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of books, discussions, fightings, internet, YouTubes, etc. Now if all of that can be devoted to something more constructive and beneficial, will not that be wise? Right? It is just your energy, where to spend it. And the worst scenario, like when I find somebody saying, this is the correct opinion, and I am going to refute you like the others, he thinks that he's bringing something in you. Then after 2 days, you'll find on YouTube another one saying, no, this is the correct opinion, and this is why. Then after 3 days, after that, you'll find somebody, back and forth, and nobody is bringing anything in you. All of that has been more than 1,000 years the same debate. Yeah, sometimes we have to invest if we are going to paint this masjid a little bit yellowish or a little bit bluish color. Is it where they like to fight over it? Sometimes really where to spend your energy and your time. Well, it is a blessing. I like scholars who don't fight it. They say it's fine, man. You're Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. You're not. You agree on this ayah? You believe in it? You believe in anything that Allah says in His Messenger? Yes, I believe in that. What do you understand from that? Everything is going to perish except Allah. Sounds good. Alhamdulillah. Move on. That was the original Sahaba Salaf. This is the original Salaf. Then they started debating over it. Okay? So whatever you adopt at the end of this course, let us not fight over it. Okay? Whatever your opinion. I am inclined to this one, safer, stick to it with Allah and His Messenger, and I say, where the Rasulullah and Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali stopped, I stopped there. They did not discuss, khalas, we're not going to discuss. That's the safest way. Anything else, they fight. Even the position that this one is adopted is not even accepted. Anyhow, so the what you call it, the ta'wil, the first generation, okay, Sahaba Tabi'een and Tabi'een, they did not discuss, so they belong to the first category. Then Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari and Abu Mansur al-Maturidi, they adopted the second one. The majority of India and Pakistan, they adopted Abu Mansur al-Maturidi. The majority of Shafi'i and Maliki, the majority are adopting, so this is Hanafi school mainly, adopting it, the majority. They are overlapping, okay, not accurate divisions. But in Shafi'i and Maliki, they adopt Abu Hasan al-Ash'ari, very close. Both of them are very close. And the last one was Abu Ya'la, who started it from the Hadithi school, from Ahmad al-Hanbali school. Then Ibn Taymiyyah supported that opinion. And Abu Hamid al-Ghazali came to support the first opinion. If you want names. We'll discuss that in some details and bring some maybe next class to comprehend more. Question for you guys. Does Quran and Sunnah cover everything unequivocally with no possibility of any other meaning? Do you think that all of the texts in the Quran and Sunnah have one interpretation with no other interpretation? No. Do I have dalil in the Quran? Yes, this is an ayah of Surah Al-Imran. Listen to this. هو الذي أنزل عليك الكتاب منه آيات محكمات. He has revealed to you, a prophet, the book. Has verses are precise. So some verses are precise. They are the foundations of the book, while others are elusive. Some verses can carry two meanings, not clear to you. Those who, with deviant hearts, those who are misguided, they follow the elusive verses, seeking to spread doubt through their false interpretations. So if you have doubts, you should go to the foundations of the book. If you have any doubt, go to the foundations of the book. Example, does Allah have fingers or hand or all of these things, and do they look like that or that? You go back to the foundations. What is the ayah that's the foundation? We mentioned that earlier. وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. Nothing is like him. So whatever comes to your mind of doubts, say no, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not like that. Asman, ممكن تفتح الباب? Can you open the door? It's getting hotter, I don't know why. Right, 75. لا هذا the other one. Yes, put the chair or something. Okay. Do Sunni Muslims disagree over the foundational and the muhkam in the Quran? The Sunni, when we say like Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, do they have doubts about the foundational text in the Quran? Do Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah have doubts or problems or differences on the foundational book? Foundational book, no. Foundational texts, they're the same. They don't differ. All of them are the same. Just a little bit here and there. Okay. Here is something for you guys. Interesting. Are there approaches to learn Aqeedah? What style of teaching we should take in this course? Is there one style or two styles? We have the first one, which is the literal meaning connected to Quran and Sunnah. This is what usually I do in Khutbat al-Jum'ah when I discuss with people, direct, recite an ayah and explain it. However, there is a rational approach. Okay? So we have the revelation approach and you have the rational approach. And this rational approach It is based on Hellenistic rational approach or logic from a Greek culture. So there are two ways to understand the Quran and Sunnah. Which one do you think is better? Studying Aqeedah from Quran and Sunnah or through rational way?
What does Hellenistic mean?
The Greek old culture. The Greek culture.
Okay.
They call it the Hellenistic philosophy and culture. Plato, Aristotle, era. Okay, so it's good. I think ask about it and remove it, keep it a Greek culture. So which one is better? Which one is better, you think?
Revelation.
It's the revelation. Can anyone come up with an approach better than Allah and His Messenger approaches? No, of course. That is the main one, okay? This is what every Muslim should learn, the basic one, okay? And that is the foundation one. This is what I give in Khutbah al-Jum'ah, that direct point. Recite Qul Huwallahu Ahad and explain. Okay? Now, what about the other approach? Should we adopt it or not? So the one that you adopt is the Quran and Sunnah approach. This is the best approach. Okay? The Quran and Sunnah approach is the direct one, and this is what you should adopt. It is direct to the point, easy, focused on the basics, and this is what is used in the khutbah and the class communication, aqeedah, to all Muslims and non-Muslims, directly. There is no better than Allah and His Messenger in communicating what Allah wants. Right? Agree so far? Then what about the rational approach? Logic and etc. Why? And should we follow it or not? Even Abu Hamid al-Ghazali. Abu Hamid al-Ghazali was a teacher of the rational approach of Aqeedah. He authored a book banning lay people, ordinary people, from the logic way or rational way. He himself, he says no. But he says, we teach that only for a few categories of people. Number one, a Muslim who will in the future debate with non-Muslims. He says, we teach him the logic. Who else you think can be taught that approach? The logical approach. The scholars, okay, to know that, so if there is a debate or something, excellent. So brilliant students, can you open one? Yeah. What else? Who can be taught that approach? You teach him, okay, let us build on one-on-one. We'll mention an example, okay, but just what approach?
Who can learn what approach? What was the question?
What
was the question one more time?
Who can be taught the rational approach to Aqeedah? We said the safest and the best is the Quran and Sunnah, direct way of Aqeedah. But the other one is the rational. We said some scholar, who's a brilliant student, yes?
Whenever we're explaining to non-Muslims?
Discussing with non-Muslims, especially if someone is smart and we expect good from him. Say, okay, let us just slow down. Let us build on some facts. Okay, do you agree on this? Yes. Let us move next step. So you are not going to tell him, okay, let me recite to you Qul Huwallahu Ahad. You say, I don't believe in your Quran or in your surah. But when you say, okay, let us start with these rational, foundational, logical principles, then you start building. So yes, for a non-Muslim, that he is looking for the truth. And finally, a Muslim who is confused. A Muslim who is confused. Like a Muslim that we teach him Qul Huwallahu Ahad and still he has questions. Teach him, okay, let us go to Ayat al-Kursi and still I have some questions, I'm not gonna get. So, and he has some doubts and misconceptions. Say, okay, let me teach you this solid knowledge. So especially a Muslim who's in the edge of leaving Islam, then we start arguing with them, logic. I used that one time. It was not very dangerous, there was a student, international student, and although he was good in science, then he told me that his daughter has some doubts, So I used that style a little bit, with her. But still young, very advanced. So I did not use it khutbah al-Jum'ah. I used it, with someone that, the father even himself, he says, I could have tried to make sense to her. Okay, Rational approach, so it is limited for some people. Invented, yes, is not Quran. Okay, we mentioned all of that here. Why a rational approach was rejected in the beginning, and where it came from. So the rational approach in the beginning in early Islam was adopted by some Muslims, and it was rejected by the majority of scholars in early Islam. And that was in the third generation started. One of the main scholars in Iraq, in Basra, Hassan Basri, he has some students who were exposed to the Greek culture. And they started learning that. They're Muslims, still youth, and they were good in Islamic knowledge. They told their teacher, we want to use that to defend Islam. And the first branch appeared called Mu'tazila. So Mu'tazila group is the first group that used the logical way to explain the Aqeedah of Islam. And the Muslim scholars waged a war on them, saying this is irrational, this is wrong, you should not adopt that approach. Because the Mu'tazila, they committed some mistakes. They built on the foundational logical thing, and they keep believing in Allah, His Messenger, and kind of pillars of Iman and Islam. But however, they went to some in depth. One of their opinions is the Quran is created. Because Allah is old and ancient, eternally, nothing before Him, and the Quran was spoken later on, and the Qadim should not be multiplied, so the Quran is created by Allah. Does that make sense to you? So the Qadim should be, the Jawhar should be an independent one thing and should not be multiplied. So Allah is all hearing but without a hearing. And His power was created in no place. And they went into some details here and there. This is the Mu'tazila opinion. خُلِقَتْ إِرَادَةُ اللَّهِ فِي غَيْرِ لَا مَحَلٍ. Okay, so some theological, advanced, logical, and the scholars at the time, they said, oh, hold on, you're like, why the Quran is created and Allah's irada is no place for it, and this and that, and the ancient is not multiplied, and Allah is hearing but doesn't have hearing, So they went in some details, and that was a reaction. There was a reaction for all of that. They brought these logical principles and they tried to apply them. Okay? Then they went so far in Aqeedah, saying As-Sirat, Ihdina As-Sirat Al-Mustaqim. We know that Sirat means the guidance in this life, and it is a metaphor. But on Yawm Al-Qiyamah there is a Sirat, which is a bridge. Right? Then they say it is a metaphor. So Muslim scholars, they rejected their interpretation. They said, hold on, don't follow the rational or logical way, or ilm al-kalam, they call it al-kalam, ilm al-kalam, because the logic of argument at all. Sound good so far? Okay, you need some example, some of the foundations of the logical, rational way. Again, not everyone should learn it, except someone who is in the future is going to argue with non-Muslims, someone who has some doubts, a scholar, etc. These are the foundationals. They say that any rational judgment by your brain should fall in these three categories. Anything around you, you judge it should be a wajib or mustahil or a jaiz. Wajib is absolutely must be, something that should not be denied, like doesn't work, that it doesn't exist, like the existence of God. Absolutely, the second one, mustahil, something absolutely cannot be, it is impossible. And possible, al-jaiz, something that may be, something that must be. The other category is cannot be, and the third one is maybe. In a simple way, if you want the logical language, a sound brain cannot accept its non-existence. These texts are difficult, like that, very, very logical, and with the negation when it is added, negation. So what is al-wajib? What is the necessary or the obligatory or something that must be? It is a sound brain. If somebody has a sound brain, he says, oh, cannot accept non-existence. It must be this way. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His existence. We say it is impossible to imagine a universe. It is impossible to imagine a universe without having someone to exist in. It is impossible to have something that is moving without being moved by something. Nothing just moves by itself. There must be something. So they say this is must. This is a rational must or obligatory. So they start with a non-Muslim. They talk, okay, let us agree on anything, on these rational judgments. And they took it from, or they built it on the Hellenistic or the Greek culture. Something that is impossible. When you tell your friend, you're like, it is impossible, impossible. That a father, for example, is given birth by his son. It should be the other way, right? Or that the 10, to say it is impossible. They say, well, what do you mean? You're like, this is impossible, it doesn't make sense. Or the portion is bigger than the whole. You have biscuit or chocolate, you break a piece, right? This is a piece of the whole. So the piece is smaller than the whole. Somebody says, no, the piece is bigger than the whole. Say that's impossible. It is a piece of a whole. So you start building with these foundational things in order to reach with them finally to the existence of Allah. And just something that maybe, Abdurrahman may be here and maybe there. But it is impossible to be in the same place physically in both places. Okay, so I'll say anything in this room now, our existence falls in the third category. Any one of us could be existed or not existed. Allah could create or not create. Could be alive or dead, right? So we fall in the third category. The majority of us, or creatures, they fall in the third category. However, sometimes within the human's logic, you have the impossible and obligatory. Should be this way. Should be this way. Now, there is no other way. 1 plus 1, there is 1 cup and 1 cup. How many cups? 2. This is obligatory. This is the rational judgment. I cannot imagine that is not anything else. We're talking about sound judgment. So this is wajib and impossible. Now we come to some of the questions that sometimes you hear. Do you understand these three? Okay, when somebody says, for example, can Allah create another God that is stronger than him or like him? What do you think? Now we say, Qul huwallahu ahad, and somebody says, okay, I'm not talking about Quran and Sunnah, you can prove that logically. So you come to these judgments. Anyone can? Will you try? Can Allah create someone who's like him, his power?
I think it's impossible. I think it's impossible.
It falls in the category of impossible. Why?
Because he's already like the greatest being. He's already the strongest. Why would he create someone greater than him when he's already the greatest?
So nothing. Okay. What else? It is impossible to have someone similar to Allah. In what sense?
But the question is, could he? And if he cannot, that means that there are things he cannot do, which we know is impossible.
Excellent. So this is what they will bring it to you. They're saying, oh, then your God is limited. So how to dismantle his question is using the logical thing. You say, if you say God doesn't, we believe that God doesn't have a beginning. So you're talking about creating someone like him who has a beginning because he's going to initiate. That is impossible. So your question is kind of doesn't make sense to us from that perspective. You say someone like him and he creates him. So there is a contradiction in the same question itself. Okay? Or can God create a big rock that he cannot carry? Etc. All of these questions, so you come to the logical, you tell them, your question is contradicting. You don't understand the concept of God and you are proposing something that contradicts what they can. You say God and someone like him, then he is a God, right? Then God, he was created by the first God. Then he has a beginning, then he's not a God. Etc. So you say your question doesn't make sense, etc. So this is what they use to prove the Aqeedah. And there are some texts, small, like الاقتصاد في الاعتقاد, the summary of الاعتقاد by Abu Hamid al-Ghazali. Wallahi, when I studied that, I was a university student in Arabic. We go over some paragraphs, I read it, and I read it again, and again, and again, and again, and we go to the Sheikh, and he explains, and all of that, and we go back, very, very complicated text. Like that, with the negation, with the connection. And Abu Hamid al-Ghazali was a genius. Abu Hamid al-Ghazali, the logic of Abu Hamid al-Ghazali was, he refuted, you heard about his book, Refutation of Philosophers. Abu Hamid al-Ghazali, he refuted the philosophers of his times. All of that Greek culture that contradicted Islam, he dismantled it, reviewed it, all of it. So the language itself is very, very, very high, very difficult. You try to take a course in logic. There are some sections that are easy, classifications of things, for example, building, like what they call it, if principle 1 and 2, then you reach a conclusion, like every human being, like speaks, Abdul Rahman is a human, then he speaks. All of these, logical arguments. Some of them are very simple, but when you go in advance, it becomes difficult, but they use it. So is it possible for me in Khutbah al-Jum'ah, remember in Ramadan, people are coming for the first time, instead of talking about the knowledge of Allah, then I say, okay, we'll discuss important topic today for you guys. So we can prove that Allah does exist. Let us talk about the 3 rational judgments. And there are no 4. Either you deny one of them, or you bring a 4th one, if you can. These are the only 3. Scholars, philosophers, they agree that these are the logical foundational. Shall I ask a question? What is the obligatory or al-wajib?
Like daily 5 prayers.
Oh, no, the wajib here, logical, rational judgment. الأحكام العقلية الثلاث. أحكام عقلية.
Something that must be.
Must be. And how you say it in their statement, what the sound mind
Sound mind cannot accept its non-existence.
is not existence. Does that make sense? Sure. Okay, and what is the impossible, mustahil?
Cannot be, a sound mind cannot accept its existence.
Its existence. Cannot accept its existence. Doesn't work like that, doesn't make sense. And the mustahil, the possible, jaiz,
It may be, a sound
which
mind
is maybe.
can accept its existence or non-existence.
Okay. So you can use that in everyday life. When you argue with someone, you say, it is impossible. This or that. Do you want this or that? So you, instead of leaving the discussion taking place in different directions, you say, okay, hold on. This or that. What category and what way? Is there any logical thing in the Quran? Do you think that there is some logical verses in the Quran, rational judgment? This is one of them. لو كان فيهما آلهة إلا الله لفسدتا. If there are deities other than Allah, the heavens and earth, or the universe, heaven, earth, will be corrupted. Okay? This is one of the verses in the Quran. لو كان فيهما آلهة. Notice that there is some logic, like if doesn't work, like more than one God doesn't work. Anyone can explain that? Is it possible to have 2 deities for the same world, 2 gods who created the same world? Why not? Logically prove it.
Because one will always want control.
What if they have an agreement? Say, okay, you don't control me, I don't control you. You control this part of the world, the universe, I control that. Or you create the Jawhar and I create the Arad. We did not discuss Jawhar and Arad, also foundations for logic. Jawhar is the essence, independent thing. And Arad, what is depending on it. So the Jawhar is the thing, and the Arad, what comes, like the height, the width, or the color. Okay? So, can you, when you describe something at all, height and width and color and all of these, and movement, all of them are attributed to something usually, right? That is the independent thing. Then you give it features, you give it qualities. Okay? So that is jawahir, the possibilities, and that is the independent thing originally. Also they use it for the logic. We'll come to it, but come for this. Yes.
The meaning of God means one.
And they say there are 2 gods. They agree, they're reference, they are not fighting.
It doesn't work.
Why? Logically speaking, why it doesn't work? This is an ayah in the Quran. If there are more than deities, then they will be corrupted.
If there are 2 things that are more powerful than everything,
Oh.
they're either one of them is more powerful than the other, or neither one of them is more powerful than the other, which means that they aren't more powerful than everything.
Okay, somehow it's correct. What if they have an agreement and they divide their power? They say, yeah, like you do that and I do that, and they have an agreement and they're not fighting.
They then wouldn't be all powerful.
Because it, oh shoot.
That will limit one of them, right? When he says, okay, this is my area, I create, I do whatever I want, and you, God, you do the other side. Then this one cannot handle that one, right? So he's limited in his power. He's not all, like capable of doing everything. And the other one has limitations because he cannot even agree to that one. This is in case of they agree. Okay? So he's limited to this room, the other God limited to that room. So he's not a God. A God should be in charge of everything. And if they fight, or if they disagree, then one will move something, then the other will do the opposite. Then the corruption will happen to the earth and heaven. So this is one of the ayat in the Quran that has some logical argument. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will conclude of this about Isa. Wallahi, this is recently getting in my brain more and more. Listen to this ayah. Who will do anything if Allah decides to destroy or to kill Isa, son of Mary, and his mother, and everyone on this earth? Can anyone change? Can anyone? So this is logical. And I'm planning to use it in the future with any Christian that I'll find or discuss with him. Say, okay, can God cause Isa to die, and his mother, and everyone on the earth? Then we come to that two gods, who's more powerful, who's more. So this is one of the logic that is mentioned in the Quran. Prove logically, question for you, Jesus is not a God. It is not impossible that Allah sends the prophets and reveal the Quran. We'll leave it inshallah for next time. Maybe we'll start figuring your minds. Jazakumullah khair. You have 2 hours. Barakallah feekum. Your feedback is appreciated. All of that was an introduction. So next time, this is the first paragraph. Okay? Next class, maybe the most important. The third one still is important if we cannot finish everything in next class. But it will be easier because we'll move to easier things. So the first thing about Allah, His existence, and the qadr of Allah, have some challenges and some of the verses that I posted in the beginning. Please join us tomorrow. Bidnillah, jazakumullah khair. Thank you for your patience and your attention. Barakallahu feekum. Assalamu alaikum.